Okay, we'll get started. All right, so for everybody that doesn't know, I think most of y'all do know, but just in case you don't, my name is Jordan Splinter. I am a diamond, and I've been in the business since March. What did I start? March 2017. So just a little over a year, and it has been quite an interesting journey for me. So before we get into like green carpet stuff, I'm just going to share like my story with you guys, and hopefully some of it will resonate with you, and yeah, you'll be able to connect a little bit, feel what's going on. Who else is hopping on? Sydney. Hey, Sydney. Okay. So like I said, I got notes down here, y'all, so I don't ramble because I talk too much, and then with that energy thing, I will be all over the place. I started in March of 2017, and I got off to like a pretty quick start. I came in, I had been talking to Brittany. Brittany is my enroller, and originally I was just interested in the wraps, and I'd actually been trying to find the wraps for like 4 years and could not find anybody that sold these things. And I'm like, what are these miracle wraps? Why can't I find them anywhere? And somebody needs to sell me one right now. And I didn't even know that Brittany was in the business, and somehow, I guess one of her, oops, everybody's muted, right? Yeah, no. I saw one of her posts pop up and saw that she had the wraps, and I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody actually has these things. They're real, legitimate, magical wraps. I'm like, okay. So I didn't really reach out to her, and then she made a post. I was like following her stuff. I never commented, never liked, I never reached out or anything like that. And she made a post one day that was talking about Confianza and her journey and her struggle with like anxiety and stress and all of that. And that hit me like hard. Hey, Grayson, I see you waiting. That hit me like super hard because at that time I was going through like postpartum a year after I had my son, and I didn't know where it was coming from. And I was having crazy anxiety attacks. I could like barely function in public, basically. I would just like shut down and go into like crazy panic attacks, and we would have to go home. And that went on for quite a few months. And I just like isolated myself and like pulled away from all my friends. Nobody knew I was going through it except for Josh, obviously, and some family members. So I saw her post about that, and it just like blew me away that she was being so open and honest about it. And I had never really seen anybody be honest about anything like that, like share like, hey, I'm going through this. So that was what like really, really caught my attention, and kind of started that connection again there. So Brittany and I know each other from college, kind of like acquaintances. We weren't like super close in college or anything like that. We knew each other through mutual friends, and I think met like once or twice. So that's how I got started. And I was like, what are these wraps? And at that time there was like BOGO wraps if you signed as a distributor. And oh, hey Mary, in your little hospital bed. She was like, you could do the wraps, or you could get started and like, I don't know if you're needing an extra income, but you could do that and get BOGO wraps. And I was like, heck yes. Yes, but didn't jump on right away. I waited till literally the last day of the promotion and was scared to death because I'm like, how can I do a business like this when I have such bad anxiety? I don't like talking to people. I get really nervous. I'm really introverted, and it just did not seem like a good fit. And she was like, no, we'll teach you how to do everything. So that's how I got started in it. And from day one that I was like, okay, because I had thought about it for a few days, and I'm like, okay, let's go. I'm ready to do this. You tell me whatever I need to do, and I'll do it. Because I saw her like being really successful in it. I saw her income and her bonuses, and I knew that I needed that because we were in a really, really, really tight place financially. So, oh, sorry. I'm reading the chat. Anywho, so I got started, and I feel like, to me, it was a really strong start. I went Ruby within less than 2 months, and I was like, okay, we're on a really good track here. Like, I was going for, at the time they had the diamond bonus where if you went diamond in your first 3 months, you got a $10,000 bonus. And I was like, I need that bonus. Like that would change everything for our family. So that was like all my mind was focused on. I'm like, Brittany, show me how to get that bonus. And I ran towards that bonus, and I missed it. And at the time, like, that was like a really pivotal moment in my journey, because I could have looked at that and been like, well, crap, I missed my bonus. Like, that's what I was running for. I could have either gone down this road where I'm like, well, I must not be good at this and it must not work and I'm never going to get bonuses. And it could have been like a very big rabbit trail of like negative thoughts. Or I could have decided, okay, I missed that. Like, and by that point I had watched like every training. Oh, somebody's loud. I had watched like every training that I could find from like Brittany and Claire and Alyssa and like all these other people. And when I like literally went through every single training, I was like, I got to find more. So I went on YouTube and I was YouTubing all kinds of trainings and asking for like advice from some of the leaders, like who's good to learn from, whatever. And I would literally every single day, like it was playing while I was getting ready, or it was playing while I was cooking dinner or putting my makeup on, like whatever. It was always playing in the background. And I was constantly learning from different angles, like how different people run their business. So I had heard enough times by that point, like that how many other people had missed bonuses, and it sucked. And they were like, man, that I really wish I could have gotten that. But they stuck with it. And down the road, there were more bonuses and other opportunities. And those bonuses changed their life. You know what I'm saying? So I had heard that enough to where I was like, okay, this really stinks. And I really wanted that bonus, but I trust what they say. Like these people are already at the top and they're already making, crazy money. I'm like, if they say it works, then it works. So I'm like, okay, let's do this. So I missed that. And then right after I missed that bonus, we went through a big chunk of the summer. I'm sorry if y'all can hear Micah, he's kind of loud. We went through a big chunk of the summer where it was just like one family crisis after another. We live in Texas, but our families are in Virginia and California. And just in Virginia, we had like 3 family members die within like 3 months. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, what is happening? Like, what is going on? Like all these different things that were like obviously taking my attention and taking like my focus and my energy and my emotions and all of that, like, and taking it away from my business. And I recognized it and I saw it and I was like, okay, I can't let this take me away from what I want to do here. And even though I recognized it, it took me away. And it hit my business hard. Like I was fully charted diamond and I took that step away and I wasn't consistent. I wasn't posting. I wasn't reaching out to people. Like everything that I knew I was supposed to do, I wasn't doing, and I mean, some could say, well, it's good reason, but at the same time, like, if that's my only source of income, like I got to find a way to like at least post once a day, you know what I'm saying? And so we had, let me think, pretty much from like August until January, really, I was in such a funk and such a rut, and I could not find my way out of it. I could not. And I knew what I was supposed to do. And it was almost like there was this spirit of like rebellion there. Like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I just can't seem to do it. Like I'm hitting walls, and it was keeping me from like, progressing and pushing through. Like there was this glass ceiling here, and I'm like trying to get past it. And I just wasn't hitting it like strong enough, if that makes sense. And I literally went from getting paid as a Ruby early summer to by January, I don't even know when it started, but definitely in January, I was getting paid as a distributor. And that was like super embarrassing. And I didn't want people to know that because, whatever, pride, whatever it is. And I'm like, something has got to happen. So January, I tried to like pick things up. I knew conference was coming, and I just kept hearing like, get to conference and it changes everything. And I did not understand that. And I did not understand conference season. And this is getting kind of long, y'all. I'm sorry if I'm rambling. Hopefully this is for somebody, because I'm kind of getting off my notes. But I knew that I needed to like grab onto something. And y'all, like, if you ever wonder if you need to get to events, this is exactly what events are for. Obviously, conference is the big one. Green carpet is a big one. But even like smaller events, they are there specifically to boost you again, and to like you can only run so long off of one tank of gas. So like even going to conference, like that filled up my tank and it was overflowing, but I can only run so much on that one tank, and then it's time to refill again. And I feel like that's what events are. And so I went to conference getting paid as a distributor, which was really embarrassing since I was known as like a Ruby. And they announced the Emerald bonus at conference, and I was like, this is it. Like, I have to go Emerald. And I turned to Josh and I was like, just tears were just like streaming down my face. And I was like, this is it. Like, I felt so much pressure for so long to hit Diamond, because that was the last bonus, that I was forgetting about the steps in between. And I felt like they were insignificant when really they weren't. And so beginning of January, I was getting paid as distributor. Let me make sure I say this right. And then by the end of January, I was getting paid as an executive. And then from the beginning of February to the end of February, I went Emerald. So I went from executive pay to Emerald and got the $5,000 bonus. And then from, what are my months? There. That was, what are my months? I have it written down, but it's like so scribbled. And then this past month, like a couple of days ago, I hit Diamond. So basically just want to tell you guys all of that to show you, like, you know, when you come, especially for like newer people, when you come into the business and you see all these people, you see people who are Ruby or Emerald or Diamond or Double Diamond or Triple Diamond or whatever, you see like Claire or Alyssa, like, you come in and you see them like where they are now, and like the success they have now, and like the leadership qualities that they have now. But what you didn't see was the road that like got them there. And what you didn't see was every single one of them had ups and downs in their business. We all have people that quit. We all have people who, you think are going to be your runners and are going to run with you. And it just doesn't always happen that way. Like, I had to completely rebuild my whole Diamond chart. The people that charted me Diamond the first time, only like 3 of those people were still working. So I had to completely rebuild. And, so just know that everybody's story is unique, and you go through that. Like, I could have gotten really discouraged by all the times that I had big dips in my business. To me, what were big dips? And losing my pay and losing team members, and me stepping back and not being passionate about my business caused my team to look at me and be like, I mean, nobody said this, but I know I would. Like, oh, like if I saw Brittany not posting, I'm like, oh, Brittany's not posting every day. Oh, I must not need to post every day then. You know what I'm saying? So me taking a step back, that domino effect, I feel like reached the people who were on my team, and they felt the same thing and just kind of like drifted off. So where was I going with that? Just know that your story is there for a purpose. Like, if I hadn't gone through those things, nobody's journey is ever like this. Nobody's journey is ever like a steep hill, like, oh, this greatness, like, I'm flying, I'm soaring. No, like, everybody's is up and down. And if it was, like, if for some out of this world reason I had a perfect road to diamond, and everything just went awesome, and everybody signed on the very first time I talked to them and whatever, like I would never be able to relate with any of you or anybody on my team, because that's just not reality. It just doesn't happen. So, okay, that's my story. And I'm going to share a couple of tips with you. And then, so Jessie Hart is one of my awesome, sweet girls on my team. And she is going to also be sharing a couple of tips with you guys that she took away from this weekend. And I'm really excited for that, because I saw like the light in her eyes after green carpet this weekend. And we all like carpooled back to somebody, like to Hannah's house, and it was just like like all these different things we learned. So I'm excited for her to share some tips with you guys. So I'll go through these fast since I'm talking kind of long. Is it not? My phone's crazy. It's telling me that now it's time to start this. Okay, so again, I have like 4 tips. One of them is to share your journey. Be vulnerable with your journey, and yeah, just share it. Like, and not just like business wise, like share where you are, share like what you need from this business and what you're hoping to get from it. So whatever your reason was for coming in, whether it was more income or whether it was to make some friends, or you were like me and you were in a really bad place in your life and really anxious and depressed and needed money, like those are things that you need to share. And it's hard to do that sometimes, because we feel like people are going to read it and they're going to judge us for that, or they're going to see it and think, oh, I thought Jordan had it all together. I thought this, I thought that. Like all of these what ifs could be there. But the reality of it is that you might meet 1% of people in the entire world who don't need to hear your story. The rest of the 99% of people in the world are going through something right now. Everybody's going through a hardship, whether you realize it or not, financially, emotionally, relationally, whatever it is. So sharing your story, you don't know who that could meet. You don't know who's scrolling through their Facebook. Like I never could have guessed that I would have been scrolling through my Facebook that night and seen Brittany's post about Confianza. And I mean, she didn't have to share that, but she did. And that's what caught me, because that's what I was going through at that time. So sharing, hey, I'm doing this business because I have a lot of debt to pay off, or I want to pay off my car, or pay off my school loans. Like talk about those things and share your story in different ways. And that's one of my downfalls, is that I don't share that enough, because when I do share it, not every single time, but I'll have people being, messaging or commenting and being like, that I completely understand what you're saying. Or, a post you made a couple weeks ago, like, I didn't know you were going through that. I was going through the same thing, So just sharing that and being open and vulnerable, because I forget who it was. I don't know if one of you guys that were there remember. I think it was what was the purple hair girl? Ashley, the debt-free girl. Do y'all remember? Jessie, Hannah? Y'all can type in there. Anyway, Ashley something. She said something that really stuck with me, and it said sharing my pain and sharing my victory. Because when you share the pain first, when you share the hardships first, people walk with you through that journey and they get to see your victory. And that makes people believe that they can do it too, and that they can get through what they're getting through as well. The next thing was, basically the same thing. Just sharing what the business is doing for you. And I know girls, anybody on my team, like, I know you've heard me say this before, probably more times than you care to hear, but it's not all about posting like the big promotions, like my story versus like where I'm at right now versus where Alyssa is right now. Like she's obviously going to have a much bigger story to tell, that she makes a ton of money and makes all these bonuses and whatever. And then my story on the other end, like people see that, And they're like, oh, that's cool. But people might not always be able to understand that, because not everybody will see that they can get there. Does that make sense? Like they might see that somebody, so-and-so just earned $100,000 bonus, but in their mind, they're going to think, well, I could never do that. She's much better at this than I am, or whatever. Like their fears are going to set in, and they're going to be like, good for her, but that's never possible for me. Instead, like sharing the small things and sharing like, what was her name? I keep wanting to call her Ronnie Brown, but it wasn't Ronnie Brown. The other girl. What's her name? Anybody know? Shoot, I just looked it up earlier. She was saying that she shares, yes, Fallon, thank you. Fallon, she said that she shares like all over her Facebook, all over her Instagram, her stories, everything. Like if she gets Rap Cash, she's taking a picture with her Rap Cash. If she gets a fast start bonus, she's talking about it. She's gonna be like, oh, she said one of them she got was on her honeymoon. She rolled over in the middle of the night and saw that she got a fast start bonus, and she posted about it. Hey, I'm on my honeymoon and I got a fat, whatever, for helping other people get started in their business. And little things that people are like, oh shoot, I could use $100. I could use, what's that, Andrew? I could use an extra, like, whatever, like the smaller things that people can relate with. So paying for gas, paying for groceries, being able to pay your phone bill this month, being able to pay your electric bill with your bonuses, like whatever it is, like post about those small things, because that is what the everyday person can relate with, and they're going to want to be a part of that. Okay, I'm taking way longer than I meant to. Okay, this one, y'all. All right, I was saving the best for last. Y'all ready for this? This is what that energy stick was getting me ready for. Okay, y'all. This like blew my mind. I see you. This like blew my mind and put me in my place all at the same time, and really had to check myself. And I was like, dang, she is speaking right to me right now, because I've never done this. Okay, so I'm gonna just assume that most of you guys have never done this either. I'm just gonna real talk right here. So the comp plan. For everybody that has their video on, can you just raise your hand up if you've ever read the full comp plan? Okay. So I had never read the full comp plan. I had like skimmed over it, and I probably the first 2 pages, because it's a few pages, yeah, you've skimmed. I never read it. And Fallon talked about the comp plan, and that was when Cammie asked her, what is your biggest tip? You could say one thing to everybody that's here today, and she said it on Friday and she said it on Saturday, so it must be big. She was like, read the comp plan. Read. And she pretty much said like, she's like, we need to view the comp plan as like our playbook. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but she pretty much said like, if you don't read the playbook, you're not going to know how to win the game. And I was like, dang, I've never read that comp plan. And, if people on my team, people who are joining me and like coming in, they're like, hey, why was my check not this much? Like, I thought I was going to make more, or why didn't I get this, or why this, or why that? Like, I had somebody ask me that in the last month. I didn't have an answer. Like, I kind of knew, but I should have been able to be like, okay, what were you hoping that your check would be? Okay, that X amount. All right, so you would have needed to do X, Y, Z to get that much money. Like, that's what I should have been able to say to her. And I had never read it. So she said that she teaches her team to read the comp plan 3 times a month. On the first of the month, after you've hit or missed a promotion. On the 8th of the month, right after prelims are posted. And then on the 15th of the month when we get paid. So that way we're seeing our paychecks and we know exactly where everything is coming from. And do that every single month. Like, I read through, like, after I got home, I read the comp plan. I'm like, I need to read that thing. And I still don't understand all of it. There were still things I'm like, oh my gosh, but that makes me curious, and that makes me reach out, and I can be like, Brittany, what does this mean? So-and-so, what does this mean? Like, explain it to me. And if I'm reading it consistently every month, then it's just going to be second nature, and I'm going to be able to teach my team, just like you guys will be able to teach your team the same thing, and how to understand it, understand their paychecks. If they know that they want to make $500 a month, like, we should be able to know how to tell them how to make $500 a month, if that makes sense. And then there's something else that she said too, and now I can't remember. It was just in my head. I don't know. And then the last thing I'll say, and then I'll hand it over to Jesse. One thing that Mark said, he said it on Friday night, and then he said it again on Saturday. He referenced what we do to football. And he was saying that when you go to like a football game, or you like think of a football game, there's 75,000 people in the stands, right? And then there's about 53 people that are actually on the field. If it were easy, like if it was the easiest thing to do, then it would be switched. It would be 75,000 people on the field and 53 like lazy people sitting in the stands just watching. The difference between those people is who put in the work to get there. You know, we can all start running and throwing a football or whatever, but I mean, I'm not going to be one of the ones to make it down. I'm not that athletic on football team, but if I pushed hard enough, I could be one of those people that are down on the stands down on the field instead of in the stands. And it's the same with the business. Like, if it was easy, like, everybody would do it. Everybody would be Black Diamonds. Everybody would be making $100,000 plus a month. And it's simple. It's a simple plan to follow, but it doesn't mean that it's easy. And we have to be the ones that are there putting in the work and sticking with it, and put, just like people for like the Olympics, like they train hard. They train for like years to get to that gold, like that moment at the Olympics. And it's the same thing. Like, we've got to push and run hard to make sure that we're doing everything we can to be one of those people on the field and not in the stands. Well, that's all I got. Okay, Jesse.
Hi guys. You'll have to excuse if I need to break away for a second. My husband's working late, so I have my toddler by myself. So one of the biggest things that stuck out at Green Carpet was the power of one. If you haven't watched the 2 videos that Jordan posted in the chat, go back and watch them immediately after the Zoom, because it's incredible. It really does show that, like, even though sometimes you feel like you've had a slow month, if you just have one person that you can sign as a loyal customer, sign as a distributor, as a distributor, it just makes an incredible multiplication factor when everybody does just one. I was gonna run back and actually like write down the numbers to kind of put up for you guys, but my son locked me on my computer, so that didn't happen. So I'm back in on my computer, thankfully, but and I'm gonna go back and rewatch it, even though I was there to see it in person. It was really, really powerful. I've heard the power of one, but I never actually understood. No, I never actually understood it until I was at Green Carpet. So the next thing that really stuck out to me was loyal customer retention. I know I personally don't do this enough. I only follow up with a handful of my loyals, just that I know. But I need to be making dedicated time each month or each week to go back and actually take care of these customers. Because if you just sign them up and drop them and don't ever talk to them or don't ever check in with them, they're not going to come back. They're not going to continue ordering. They're going to do their 3 months and then drop off. Jordan and I were talking about this before this afternoon, and she had a good idea of doing like thank you cards with like a sample staples of like Greens or Wow or something like that. Mommy. Hold on a second. Also, hold on one second. Sorry, I'm gonna yell. Hold on. I'm so sorry. Okay. So the other thing would be to like check in monthly, even if you're just sending like a thank you. Yeah, mom, like for real. Even if you're just sending a thank you saying, hey, just wanted to thank you for being my little customer. Was thinking about you. How do you like the product? Have you gotten them in yet? You know, something like that. Just doesn't even have to be anything in the mail or anything crazy. Just send them a message, let them know you're thinking about them and that you're, you know, here if they need anything with their products. And that'll keep your volume up so you're not scrambling every month. Let's see. Another thing that stuck out to me, follow-ups. They threw some crazy statistics out, and I was also going to look this up, didn't have time. But it was something crazy about, like, until you basically follow up for, like, the fifth time, or, like, fifth to eighth time or something, you're probably going to get a no. Because, like, the percentage of them actually saying yes on the first 1, 2, or 3, or 4 follow-ups is like 1 or 2%. It's crazy low. You don't actually start getting into 80% yeses until you hit like your 10th and beyond follow-up. I have been following up maybe 3 times and been like, I'm just wasting my time. But Ashley Sinclair, is that her name? Okay. She read one of her follow-ups. She's really funny. I follow her now on Facebook. She's awesome. She read one of her follow-ups, and she bugged the crud out of this lady, and it was hilarious. But she made it not awkward. She made it funny, like, hey, you know, little alien gif, have you been abducted? I'm still haven't heard a no from you, so I'm going to keep, you know, pushing. And she actually got all of us at conference to say join on video for her so she could send that to this lady. So, I mean, it was just crazy. But it really made a point to me that I really need to stick with follow-ups and how important that they are. I mean, you hear follow-ups are important, but they really are. And statistically, it's not going to be the first, second, or third, or even fourth follow-up. It's going to be way later. So just stay consistent, even if you're not getting responses, even if they're reading it and they're not answering. Keep pushing. Let's see. For example, I think, Brittany, I'm pretty sure you got to the point with me that you had asked, like, hey, did I offend you? Because I was, like, kind of ignoring your messages when you were trying to get me to sign, I think, as a distributor. Because I was Brittany's loyal customer for a little bit, and I know Brittany and Hannah had both joined at that point and were talking to me. And I tried a couple of products, like greens and cleanse and stuff. And then she kept pushing and pushing, and I finally gave in. But also, my husband had grounded me from doing any type of home business because I have failed at every single one of them. Avon, Mary Kay, Advocare, like literally every single one of them except for It Works. I wish I would have found It Works first. But funny story, my husband wanted wraps. He's in the Army, and he wanted some wraps. And so I finally, I went to Brittany and I was like, hey, I need some wraps. And she's like, oh, you should be a distributor, and then you get this box of wraps, and you can make money and this and that. So I ended up ordering the distributor kit, and here I am now. And he's like so thankful I did that. But sometimes it takes lots of follow-ups to get people, and it works because it worked with me. So last point I want to touch on is this hit me like a ton of bricks. They can hear you. Okay, you need to stop. Calm down. Sorry. I'm so sorry. This is like a nightmare with him running around. Pam did a little segment on breaking down barriers. Oh my God, he's on the table. Stop! Get up. Okay. No, don't get on the table. Pam did a little thing about breaking down barriers and like just taking a moment to look at what your barriers are. So I want to do a little game activity. Not game, but just an activity. Take a second and think about what your biggest barrier is. What holds you back from posting? What holds you back from messaging people? What do you think is holding you back the most in your business? And type it in the chat. I was telling Jordan, I think I was sitting next to Hannah. I looked over and I was like, I feel like I'm on Oprah. Like, it was just so intense. She was like, you're breaking down barriers and you're breaking down barriers. It was just amazing. So, and then I realized, like, I was sitting there thinking in my head, like, what my barriers were. And I realized how silly I sounded in my own head. You know, I am scared of what people think of me on Facebook. Like, my friends, are they going to judge me because I'm a network girl? And I don't care. I love these products and I love what they do. I love this business because it's making me money. I mean, I'm paying bills with it. I've never been able to do that. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and you know, I used to be in property management, and that's the only time I ever made money outside of this. And so for me to think of these crazy barriers in my head that, like, I'm scared of what people think is just insane, and it sounds ridiculous. And you know, we have this awesome team, and you're gonna have to get down. You're driving. Okay, I'm gonna mute for just a second. Okay, I'm gonna mute and handle my toddler. Think of your barrier and type it in the chat real quick. We'll just take like 30 seconds to do that real fast. Okay, all right. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of read through them. Messaging potential distributors. What do you think you could do that would, Jordan, that could help you kind of break down that barrier? Yeah.
I'm like, give me to say it. Say it out loud.
We're breaking down these friggin' barriers tonight.
We're breaking down barriers. That's right, girl. For me, it's just going to be getting over my fear of, like, just doing it, just sending that message. And, you know, if they say no, then it's a no. But I just need to get over that barrier and just actually hit send.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes we'll hear 10 no's. I mean, I've come to you a lot with, like, okay, I've messaged 5 people, and every single one of them has said, you know, negative things about, you know, they've tried the product, they didn't like it, or whatever the case may be. But behind those 5 no's, there's like 20 yeses waiting for me somewhere else. So you just have to boom, 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 knock them out and go somewhere else, because, or, you know, keep following up, because sometimes their no really isn't a no, like my no wasn't really a no. So, okay. Mary. That's a really good point. She wrote, what holds me back is doing this full time to reach my fullest potential, but now I believe God has put me literally in a place that I have no choice. I'm so sad I couldn't come visit you the other day. My husband was struggling, so I had to rush home. But yeah, it's crazy how God kind of like shows you where you need to be. And I know, I mean, I think pretty much anyone, if they could quit their job and do this full time, would. And they will. You'll get to eventually. But yeah, this is a great time to kind of, you know, set a game plan and put it into motion. I mean, I hope you get out of there very quickly. I hate that you're sitting there, but what do you think you could do to break down that barrier? You can type it or say it. It's totally either way.
I unmuted you, Mary. You can talk.
Oh, okay. Well, this is just so real touchy, and as Brittany knows, guys, I've been working my behind off since Brittany met me, and there's been gaps where God would try to stop me, like, you know, even when I went to the Latino lunch, I lost the client, so I had free time. So in that month, I saw where everything was increasing. But then that fear came back in. But I gotta work. And then I started working all these 15 hours, 5 days a week. I went back to what I was used to. I'm used to working, but now here I am at the hospital and they're telling me I can't work for a month. And I'm trying not to cry because it's crazy how God is. But it's like, now I know I can't, and I pray and I ask him, do for me what I can't do for myself. So to break that barrier, I'm going to listen to him. I'm not going to go rush off to work. I'm going to take a full month off and I'm going to dive in because obviously he has my more with it works. And I just have to have and have faith, true faith in him.
Amen. You have been, I love watching your posts because you are on fire and I can't wait to see where you go because you're taking off like a rocket. It's incredible. So I know God has incredible things for you planned for you.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. So then I know you're good about like setting goals and doing dream boards and stuff. So that's a really good strength that you have that will be able to help push you to those goals. Let's see. Marissa says cold and warm messaging, and also making my social media public freaks me out. I'm with you on that. My husband's a police officer, so it's weird for me to make my Facebook public, and I'm trying to branch out a little bit. If anything, I'll try and do friends of friends and things like that. But I also have an Instagram that's separate from my business, and I know it's probably best to merge those, but it makes me feel a little better that they are separate from my private life because I don't have pictures of my husband on there as much. Let's see. Are you struggling with like what to say on the messages? Is that as far as cold and warm messaging? Is that what's you're referring to? Okay. Are you in the group signing loyal distributors or loyal customers and distributors on Facebook? That's a great place to start. But also what I've done is like I've followed a bunch of our big leaders, even if they're not on our upline. I mean, Brittany is amazing to watch. Jordan and Hannah, I mean, these guys are great with their posting. They're like pros. But if you need just some outside inspiration, follow some of these big names like Ashley Sinclair and Alyssa Billieu. I always say her name wrong. Claire, people like that. And they always have, great ideas. And they're really real about their posts too. That's what I found is the most, successful anyways, is the ones that are actually being real and not just copy and pasting, stuff. So I'm with you. I get ignored all the time, but that kind of goes back to the follow-ups too. If they're reading your messages and just not responding, bug them. Keep messaging them because eventually they'll either give in or you'll know that you have completely and 100%, when you followed up 20 times, you'll know you've given it your all. and you can keep going if you want. So
Can I hop in there too with that
yeah.
one? Marissa, I just want to say with that too. So we have two different seasons in our business. We have a planting season and we have a harvest season. And especially being new right now, you're very, very much in your planting season and you're planting those seeds. So even if people are reading it and not responding or they haven't opened it yet, that's a process of planting those seeds. And you never know, like down the road. And I was just telling you this the other day, like I signed a loyal customer. Let me see real quick, Jess. I think it's like scratchy. I signed a loyal customer the other day who I messaged back when I first started in March of last year. And did she read it? I think she read it and didn't say anything. And then now she's been watching me for so long and she sees that this is something that I'm serious about and that it's something I'm going to stick with, and it builds that trust. So that season of like planting, and then you're going to hit very much a harvest season where people have watched you long enough and they're like, okay, I'm ready. Or maybe their harvest season for you is, okay, now I have some extra money to spend on that, or like whatever it may be. So even if they're not responding, it's still progress because you're planting that seed. And now they're going to remember Like this was actually really crazy. I had this girl message me out of the blue one day, and she was like, hey, this is really random. And I had reached out to her like well over a year ago. Or no, I didn't reach out to her. I'd never reached out to her. I didn't even know that she was watching my Facebook. She reached out to me and was like, hey, pretty much like I'm having like some problem areas with like my stomach and this, that, the other. And I was complaining about it to my husband, and her husband was like, have you reached out to Jordan? Doesn't she sell those like wrap things? And when she messaged that to me, I was like, why, yes, I do. And I will give them to you right now. And anyway, you just never know who's like watching and like seeing those things. So, okay, that's all I got for that.
Yeah, I think that's something that Brittany had said too that really stuck with me, is that people are watching. They're always watching. Whether or not they comment or whether or not they like your post and things like that, they're always watching. And there's tons more people watching than you think. And they, eventually will come to you. I've gotten the same thing. I've gotten times where I feel like I've done nothing but message people and get rejected. And then actually this week I've gotten several messages from like random people on Instagram and random friends that have asked me, oh, hey, so tell me about this keto. Tell me about your products. Even some of my loyal customers are coming to me and going, okay, I've only gotten, greens from you forever, but I want to know about this keto. You've got to tell me about it. But, I'm consistently talking about keto and things like that. So just consistency and plant those seeds, like Jordan said. That's definitely an amazing game plan. Okay. Kara says cold messaging potential LCs. Don't want to ruin potentials that would otherwise come to me in time. Are you talking about people in your cold market then?
Yeah, just when expanding my social media network, reaching out to people. But I think for me, breaking down that barrier is realizing there's infinite, like literally on Instagram especially, there are so many people in this world. And if you're diligently working to like and comment here and there, I mean, people are rude. I mean, I think all of us have experienced that at some point, but I've surprised myself over the last week. That's something that I've just kind of taken a leap of faith and started doing. And I've gotten way more positive responses than I expected. So for me, breaking down that barrier was just realizing, you know what, Cara, like regardless of if you get 5,000 no's, that's just closer to your next yes.
That's amazing. Yes, that's exactly. I couldn't have said that any better. That's amazing. Yeah, I think, my advice on cold messaging is just build relationships where it's technically not even a cold message. You may not be your warm market yet, but like you said, comment and like and build relationships, and that's what's going to pull you in your loyal customers and your distributors. Okay. Getting rejected multiple times. Yep. I think that's a huge barrier for all of us because nobody likes to be rejected. It sucks, but you may be rejected now. They may come to you later. Or, with that rejection, there's going to be 2 yeses behind it elsewhere, So rejection's one I'm struggling with right now because I get, when the more you message out people, the more rejections you're going to get just from statistics. So just keep plugging through it and don't ever take it personal because, they're not making your paycheck. You make the paycheck. So you got to just put in the work. Let's see. Yeah, no means no, not just right. No just means not right now. Yeah, amen. That's so true. Yeah, I think these are pretty much all barriers I was thinking of. I'm scared of what people think. I don't like getting rejected because who does? But the other thing too is like the more you get rejected, the more used to it you get, and it'll stop bothering you. I got really upset the first couple of times someone told me they didn't want these products, and I was like, well, why? It's amazing. It works, and But every time I get someone who messages me or texts me and says, oh my gosh, look at my results. I'm so glad you convinced me to get this. It's amazing. It makes, you don't even you totally forget about all those rejections because you think about how amazing it is that you change someone's life, whether that be in their business or in their, their health or their skin or whatever. I mean, it's just, it makes it so much worth it. So if you can get one yes, that overpowers 10 rejections because it's going to be that amazing. So I think that's all I had. Jordan, did we talk about anything else? I don't remember.
Awesome. No, I think that was it. Did you guys have any other questions or anything specific about what we talked about? Yeah, that's right, Mary. Rejection for someone that wants this only makes that person stronger. That's right. Oh. Y'all got anything else?
Oh, I was going to tell them about the Team LC group idea.
Oh, okay. It's up to you.
Okay. No, you already had a sucker. No more. No more. They had I don't know who was on stage, but someone was talking about doing a giant team loyal customer group. So that way they get, promos and deals and get to know more about the products, and get to feel kind of like a part of the family. So I think we're going to be kicking that up sometime soon. So keep a lookout for that. And if you have any ideas for it, let us know. But we want to do kind of a rotation of doing maybe like a product highlight, or like every week we'll talk about one specific product and do our personal results from it, and people can post their results and things like that. And we can kind of make the group our one big giant family. So
I totally thought I was muted. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to talk while you were saying that. So sorry. Okay, awesome. Well, I don't see any more questions, so we'll wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for hopping on. I'm glad we got to share this outside of just our team. And gosh, that was ridiculous. If y'all think of any other questions, or if sometime later something pops up that we said and you want to ask some more about it, feel free to reach out to us. Send us a message and we'll be happy to talk with you. Any other barriers or fears that you have, definitely talk about those. And because of Josh, sorry y'all, if we're keeping those things just to ourselves, it's definitely going to be a huge barrier. We need to be talking about it and reaching out to your upline, reaching out to other leaders that are in Fire Tribe, and making sure that we're working through that, because if not, we're just going to get stuck and it's just going to cycle in our minds and get bigger and bigger and bigger when we could have knocked it out when it was the size of a pebble, So anyway, all right. Well, we love you guys. Thank you again for hopping on. And I don't know why I keep turning yellow. Is it yellow to y'all? Okay. Anyway. All right. Good night, guys.